Una was 14 years old. When she first saw the stars from Helix Prime, the space station was the largest structure ever built by any species in the galaxy. It floated in the center of council space like a metal flower, its petals spreading out for hundreds of kilometers. Thousands of alien species walked its corridors. Ships from a million worlds docked at its ports every day. And somewhere in this massive place, a small human girl stood at a window, watching the lights of distant suns. She was part of the cultural exchange program. 20 human children had been selected to live on Helix Prime for 1 year. They would learn about alien cultures. They would show the galaxy that humans were peaceful. They would prove that Earth deserved its place among the stars. That was what the council wanted. That was the plan. Una missed her mother. She missed the smell of rain on Korean soil. She missed her small room with the posters on the walls and the old books on the shelf. But she also felt excited. She was seeing things no human had ever seen before. She was making history. She did not know that history was about to be made in a very different way. The Rethani were the most powerful species in the galaxy. They had ruled the council for 3,000 years. Their leader, High Arbiter Volus, was said to be the most intelligent being alive. His word was law. His decisions shaped the fate of worlds. He looked at humans the way a person looks at insects. Small, weak, unimportant. Humanity had joined the council 30 years ago. They came with open hands and hopeful hearts. They shared their music, their art, their stories. They asked for nothing but friendship. The council gave them a small seat at the table and told them to be grateful and humans. Being humans, smiled and said thank you. The council saw this as proof of weakness. They did not understand that kindness and weakness are not the same thing. They would learn, but not yet. On the day everything changed, Una got lost. She was walking back to the human quarters after a class on alien biology. The corridors of Helix Prime were confusing. Every hallway looked the same. She took a wrong turn, then another, then another. She found herself in a part of the station she had never seen before. The walls here were darker. The lights were dim. There were no other people around. She should have turned back. She knew this, but she was curious. All children are curious. It is not a fault. It is how they learn about the world. She walked deeper into the dark corridor. She found a door. It was slightly open. Light came from inside. She heard sounds. Strange sounds. Sounds that made her stomach feel cold. She looked through the gap. Inside, she saw a large room filled with machines. On the machines were creatures she did not recognize. They were strapped down. They were screaming. Rethani scientists moved around them, cutting, injecting, taking samples. Una did not understand what she was seeing, but she knew it was wrong. She knew it was evil. She made a sound. A small gasp. Just a tiny noise. But one of the Rethani heard it. The door flew open. Guards grabbed her. She tried to scream, but a hand covered her mouth. They dragged her into the room. High Arbiter Volux was there. He had been watching the experiments. He looked down at the small human girl with eyes that held no warmth, no mercy, no recognition of her as a living being. A witness, he said. His voice was like ice cracking. How unfortunate. Una tried to speak. She tried to say she would not tell anyone. She tried to beg. Valix raised one long finger. Dispose of her. Make it public. Let the humans know their place. They did not kill her. That would have been kinder. They beat her. They broke her bones. They hurt her in ways that would leave scars forever. And when they were done, they threw her body into the lower decks of the station, where the poor and the forgotten lived. They left her there to die. But Una did not die. A maintenance worker found her. He was old and tired and had seen many terrible things in his life. But when he saw the broken body of a human child, he felt something he had not felt in years. He felt anger. He called for help. Delegate Minho arrived within the hour. He was Earth's representative to the council. He was known for his calm voice and patient smile. He had spent years building relationships, earning trust, playing the long game. When he saw Yuna, something in him changed. He knelt beside her. Her face was so swollen he could barely recognize her. Her arm was bent at an angle that made him want to vomit. Blood covered her clothes, but she was breathing. She was alive. Who did this? He asked the maintenance worker. The old alien looked around nervously. Then he whispered the truth. Minho's face did not change. His voice did not shake. He simply nodded and said, "I understand." He arranged for Yuna to be taken to the human medical ship. He made sure she was stable. He made sure she would live. Then he went to his office and sat down at his desk. He looked at the communication device for a long time. He thought about the years of work, the careful diplomacy, the dreams of peaceful cooperation. He thought about a 14-year-old girl who had done nothing wrong except be curious. He pressed the button. The message was short. It went directly to Earth, bypassing all normal channels. It used codes that had not been used since the early days of human space travel. The message contained only 7 words. "They hurt one of our children. On Earth." The message was received by President Sujin's office at 3:47 a.m. Within 15 minutes, she was in the Situation Room. Within an hour, every human colony in the galaxy had received a single command: go dark. Communications stopped. Trade halted. Human ships returned to human space. Every human on alien worlds began quietly making their way home. The Council noticed the silence. They sent messages asking what was wrong. No response. High Arbiter Volex laughed when he heard. "The humans are running away," he said. "They know they are powerless. They know they cannot touch us." It was wrong. He was so very wrong. In the darkness of space, humanity was not running. Humanity was preparing. And when humans prepare for war, the universe itself should tremble. Yuna lay in a hospital bed, her body wrapped in bandages, her mind lost in pain. She did not know that her suffering had started something that could not be stopped. She did not know that the galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. She did not know that humanity was waking up. And when humanity wakes up angry, worlds burn. President Sujin stood at the window of her office. Looking out at the night sky above Seoul, the stars were bright tonight. Somewhere among them, a child lay broken because of alien cruelty. She was 53 years old. She had led Earth through 10 years of peace and growth. She was known for her patience, her wisdom, her gentle approach to problems. But those who knew her well knew something else. They knew that behind her calm eyes lived a fire that could burn worlds. "Show me," she said. General Huck stepped forward. He was a large man with gray hair and hands that had seen war. He pressed a button, and the wall behind the president became a screen. "This is what we have hidden from the Council for 30 years, he said. The screen showed ships. Not dozens. Not hundreds. Thousands. Massive warships, each one larger than anything the Council had ever built. They floated in the darkness between asteroids, hidden in the shadows of gas giants, waiting in the deep black of empty space. Project Prometheus, General Huck, continued. 3,700 warships. 15,000 support vessels. 2 million soldiers. All trained, all ready, all waiting for a day we hoped would never come." President Sujin turned to look at him. "Why did we hide this?" "Because we knew," he said. "We knew that if the Council saw our true strength, they would fear us. And fear leads to war. We wanted peace. We wanted to grow beside them, not fight them. And now?" General Hook's jaw tightened. "Now they have touched our children. Now peace is no longer possible." In another room, Dr. Jisoo was preparing something that had never been used before. She was the lead scientist of Project Prometheus. A woman who had spent her entire life building weapons she prayed would never fire. Today, her prayers had failed. "The quantum torpedoes are ready," she reported through her communicator. "The shield-breaking technology is online. The targeting systems are calibrated to Rathani vessel signatures. How long until we can deploy?" asked General Huck. "We have been ready for 20 years, General. We were just waiting for orders. On Helix Prime, the Council was confused by the human silence. Messages were sent to Earth asking for explanation. No response came. Trade requests were ignored. Diplomatic channels went dead. High Arbiter Volox was not worried. He sat in his great chair in the council chamber, surrounded by representatives of 100 species, and he smiled. The humans are afraid, he announced. They have finally understood that they are nothing. They are insects who tried to walk among giants. Now they hide in their little corner of the galaxy, hoping we will forget them. The other council members nodded. Some laughed. The humans had always been a joke to them. Too emotional, too soft, too weak. Delegate. Minho was no longer on Helix Prime. He had left with Yuna on the medical ship. But before he left, he had given a message to the Council's communication system. It was time to play exactly 48 hours after Yuna was hurt. The timer reached 0. Every screen on Helix Prime flickered. Every speaker crackled. And then President Sujin's face appeared, broadcast to the entire station. "My name is Sujin," she began. Her voice was calm and cold. "I am the President of United Earth. I am speaking to the Galactic Council and to all species who call themselves members of this community." High Arbiter Velux leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. 48 hours ago, a child of Earth was beaten nearly to death on your station. Her name is Yuna. She is 14 years old. Her crime was being curious. Her punishment was delivered on the orders of High Arbiter Velux. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Some members looked at Velux. He showed no emotion. "We came to you in peace," President Sujin continued. "We came with open hands. We asked only to learn and to share. We kept our weapons hidden because we did not want you to fear us. We wanted friendship, not war." She paused. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. It was harder now, colder, like steel being drawn from a sheath. "You looked at our kindness and saw weakness. You looked at our children and saw victims. This was your mistake. This will be your last mistake." The screen changed. It showed the human fleet, ship after ship, filling the darkness of space like an army of metal giants. The council chamber fell silent. Complete total silence. "This is our true strength," President Sujin said. "This is what we hid from you. This is what we hoped we would never have to use. You have taken that hope from us." High Arbiter Velux stood up. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, he told himself. From anger. Yes, from anger. "This is a bluff," he said loudly. "Human technology is primitive. These images are fake." But even as he spoke, reports were coming in from across council space. Human ships were appearing everywhere. Real ships. Massive ships. Ships that made the council's proudest warships look like toys. President Sujin's face returned to the screen. "To the Galactic Council, you have 48 hours to deliver every person responsible for the attack on Yuna. Every guard who touched her. Every officer who gave orders. Every leader who approved this crime. Deliver them to human custody, and this matter ends." She leaned forward. "If you do not, we will come and take them. And we will take everything else as well. Your stations, your fleets, your power, your pride, everything you have built over 3,000 years will burn." The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, someone in the council chamber spoke. It was a small delegate from a minor species. His voice was shaking. "What have you done?" he asked, looking at Velux. "What have you done to us all?" Velux did not answer. He could not answer. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he did not recognize. Fear. Across the galaxy, the news spread like fire. Humans were not weak. Humans were not primitive. Humans had been pretending, and now the pretending was over. On 100 worlds, alien families looked up at the sky and wondered if human ships would appear above their homes. On 1,000 stations, merchants and travelers began looking for ways to leave council space. In the deep darkness between stars, The human fleet began to move. Slowly at first, then faster. A wave of metal and fury heading toward the heart of the galaxy. General Huck stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching the stars streak past as they jumped through space. "How long until we reach Helix Prime?" he asked. 18 hours, General?" He nodded. "Send a message ahead. Tell them we are coming. Tell them to prepare their souls." The galaxy had made a mistake. They had hurt a human child and thought there would be no consequence. Now they would learn the truth. When you hurt what humans love, you do not face a nation or an army. You face a species that crossed oceans on wooden ships, that survived ice ages and plagues and wars, that climbed from caves to the stars through nothing but stubborn refusal to die. You face humanity. And humanity does not forgive. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not stop. The Council fleet gathered near Helix Prime like a swarm of angry insects. 7,000 ships from 30 different species formed a wall of metal between the station and the approaching humans. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever assembled. Admiral Korth of the Rithani stood on his flagship. Watching the tactical display, he was confident. He had spent 200 years commanding fleets. He had crushed rebellions on 100 worlds. He had never lost a battle. "The humans are brave," he said to his officers. "But bravery means nothing against superior numbers. We outnumber them 2-1. We will destroy them and end this foolishness." His officers agreed. The humans were emotional creatures who had let anger guide them into a trap. This would be a quick victory. The human fleet dropped out of faster than light. Travel exactly on schedule. Admiral Korth watched them appear on his sensors. Ship after ship after ship, forming a line that stretched across the darkness of space. They were big, he admitted. Bigger than he had expected. But size alone did not win battles. All ships, he commanded, prepared to engage. On the human side, Captain Junho stood on the bridge of the TSS Retribution. It was the first Dreadnought-class warship ever built by humanity. 3 kilometers long, armed with weapons that had never been used in real combat, Lieutenant Nari sat at the tactical station, her fingers moving across the controls. "Enemy fleet is forming attack formation," she reported. "They are preparing to fire." Captain Junho nodded. He was a calm man, the kind who spoke softly, but was heard by everyone. "Let them fire first," he said. "Let them see how little it matters." The Council fleet opened fire. Thousands of energy beams crossed the distance between the two forces. It was a wall of light, enough firepower to destroy a moon. The beams hit the human shields and stopped. Admiral Korth blinked at his display. "That is impossible," he whispered. The readings made no sense. The human shields had absorbed everything. Not weakened. Not stressed. Absorbed. As if the attack had never happened. "Increase power," he ordered. "All ships. Maximum firepower." The Council fleet fired again. And again. And again. The human ships did not even slow down. On the Retribution, Lieutenant Nari looked at her captain. "Orders, sir." Captain Junho took a deep breath. He thought about Yuna. He thought about a 14-year-old girl who had been beaten for being curious. He thought about the message he had received from her hospital bed. Recorded by Delegate Minho, she had said only one thing: "Please do not hurt anyone because of me." She was a child. She still believed in mercy. Junho hoped she always would, but mercy was not his job today. His job was to make sure no child was ever hurt like this again. "Turn fire," he said quietly. "Disable their weapons. Disable their engines. Do not destroy unless you must." The human fleet fired. The Council ships began to die, not explode. Not burn, just ... stop. Human weapons were precise in a way the galaxy had never seen. They targeted specific systems with perfect accuracy. Weapons arrays went dark. Engines failed. Ship after ship drifted dead in space. Their crews alive but helpless. Admiral Korth watched his fleet fall apart around him. "This cannot be happening," he said. His voice cracked. This cannot be real. In 11 minutes, it was over. 7,000 Council ships floated silent in space. Not destroyed. Disabled. Their crews were alive. Their life support was working. But they could not fight. They could not run. The human fleet passed through them like a river flowing around stones. Captain. Junho opened a channel that broadcast to every ship in the area. His voice was calm, almost gentle. This is Captain Junho of the Terran Navy. Your fleet is disabled. Your weapons are offline. Your engines are dead. You are not our enemies. You are victims of your leader's choices. We will send rescue ships to collect you. You will be treated well. You will be returned to your homes when this is over. He paused. But remember this day. Remember what happens when you follow leaders who hurt children? Remember that we could have killed you all. We chose not to. We chose mercy. Do not make us choose again. On Helix Prime, High Arbiter Volox watched the battle from the council chamber. His face was pale. His hands gripped the arms of his chair so hard that his knuckles turned white. Get me a ship, he said to his guards. Get me out of here. Sir, the station is surrounded. There is no escape. Volox turned on him with fury in his eyes. There is always escape. I will not be taken by these animals. But even as he spoke, the first human boarding ships were attaching to the station. Airlocks hissed open. Boots marched on metal floors. The humans had arrived. They moved through Helix Prime like water through cracks. They were not cruel. They did not shoot civilians. They did not destroy property. They simply walked forward, clearing every corridor, securing every room, searching for specific targets. Sergeant Doyan led his team toward the council chamber. He was a big man with kind eyes and hands that could crush metal. His soldiers followed him in perfect silence. They found resistance. Council guards tried to stop them. The fights were short. Human soldiers wore armor that shrugged off energy weapons. They moved with speed that seemed impossible. They fought with a precision that was almost beautiful. When Doyan reached the council chamber, the doors were sealed. Open them, he said. One of his soldiers placed a device on the door. A moment later, the massive metal barriers slid apart. Inside, the council members cowered in their seats. Representatives of 100S. Pesces, the most powerful beings in the galaxy, looked at the human soldiers with terror in their eyes. Doyan walked in slowly. He looked around the room until his eyes found High Arbiter Volox. You, he said. You gave the order. Volox tried to speak. His voice came out as a whisper. This is barbarism. This is against all law. The council is over, Doyan said. Your laws protected those who hurt a child. Your laws are worthless. Now there is only one law that matters. Stepped closer to Volox. You hurt one of ours. Now you belong to us. Guards moved forward to take Volox into custody. The High Arbiter, the most powerful being in the galaxy, was placed in restraints like a common criminal as he was led away. He passed Ambassador Kira. She was a Voloxi, one of the few species who had always treated humans with respect. She had tried to warn Delegate Minho about the council's corruption. She had tried to help. Volox spat at her feet. Traitor, he hissed. Kira watched him go. Then she turned to Captain Junho, who had arrived to oversee the occupation. Why did you not destroy the fleet? She asked. You could have killed them all. Gunho looked at her for a long moment. We are not monsters, he said. We are parents. Parents protect. Parents punish, but parents do not murder without need. Then what do you want? Justice, he said simply. Justice for one girl, and a promise that this will never happen again. Kira nodded slowly. The galaxy will never forget this day. Good, said Junho. That is the point. Outside, the stars shone cold and bright. The human fleet surrounded Helix Prime like a protective hand. And across the galaxy, species that had laughed at humanity looked up at the sky with new understanding. The humans were not weak. The humans were not soft. The humans had simply been waiting, and now they were done waiting. Now they were awake. The galaxy had changed in the span of a single day, Helix. Prime was under human control. The council government had collapsed like a house of cards in a storm. High Arbiter Volok sat in a cell aboard a Terran ship, waiting for transport to Earth. But he was not the only one responsible for what happened to Yuna. The guards who beat her, the officers who gave the orders, the scientists who had been conducting the secret experiments, they had scattered like rats when the human fleet arrived. Now the hunt began. Sergeant Doyen stood in the command center of Helix Prime, looking at a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the last known locations of every person connected to Yuna's assault. 17 targets, said Yunbi, the intelligence officer assigned to the operation. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind like a computer. 12 guards, 3 officers, 2 scientists. All fled before we secured the station. Where did they go? Doyan asked. Everywhere. They scattered across Council space. Some went to Allied worlds. Some headed for the Outer Rim. Some tried to disappear into the criminal underworld. What? Doyan nodded slowly. He had expected this. Cowards always ran. It was their nature. Send a message to every world in the galaxy, he said. Anyone who harbors these criminals will be considered our enemy. Anyone who helps us find them will be rewarded. The message went out within the hour, and then something interesting happened. The galaxy began to talk. Species, who had always hated the Council, started sharing information. Worlds that had been oppressed for centuries suddenly found their courage. Criminal networks that had no loyalty to anyone saw an opportunity. To earn favor with the new power in the galaxy, tips came flooding in. The first target was caught on the 3rd day. A guard named Rethko had hidden on a mining station in the Outer Rim. He thought he was safe. He thought no one would find him in such a remote place. A local miner recognized his face from the broadcast and called the humans. Doyen's team arrived within hours. Rethko did not resist. He fell to his knees and begged for mercy. I was just following orders, he said. I did not want to hurt the girl. I had no choice. Doyen looked down at him. There is always a choice. You made yours? Now you face the consequences. Rethko was taken to join Volux in custody. The second target was caught on the 5th day. The third on the 7th. One by one, the people who had hurt Yuna were found and captured. Some tried to fight. They died. Some tried to bargain, offering information about other council crimes in exchange for freedom. Their information was accepted. They were taken to Earth anyway. Some simply accepted their fate. These ones Doyen almost respected. Almost. The hunt went on for 30 days. 30 days of jumping from system to system, following leads, kicking down doors, chasing shadows. 30 days of being the thing that monsters fear. During this time, Ambassador Kira became an unexpected ally. She had spent years gathering evidence of council corruption, hoping someone would someday care. Now she shared everything. Why are you helping us? Captain Junho asked her one night as they reviewed intelligence reports together. Kira was silent for a moment. Then she said, I had a daughter once. She was killed during a council pacification mission. My entire colony was destroyed because we refused to pay increased taxes. She looked at Junho with eyes that held old pain. The council called it a necessary action. They said my daughter was acceptable losses. I have hated them ever since, but I was powerless to do anything. And now someone is finally holding them accountable. You are doing what I always dreamed of doing. She paused. I help you because when you look at that human girl, you see what I see when I remember my daughter. Someone worth fighting for. Junho did not know what to say. So he simply nodded and returned to work. On the 31st day, only one target remained. Officer Threk, the one who had actually given the order to beat Yuna. He had been Velux's right hand. He was smart, careful, and utterly without mercy. He had disappeared into the deep rim, a region of space where even the Council had feared to go. Lawless planets and hidden bases filled the area. Finding one person there should have been impossible. But the humans did not believe in impossible. Yunbi traced his ship through a series of fake identities and false registrations. Do-yeon's team followed the trail across 5 systems. They found witnesses who had seen him pass. They found merchants who had sold him supplies, finally. They found him. Threk had taken refuge on a dead world at the edge of known space. An old military bunker abandoned centuries ago now served as his hiding place. He had enough supplies to last years. He had weapons. He had defenses. He thought he was untouchable. Do-yeon's team landed on the planet at dawn. The bunker's sensors detected them immediately. Automated weapons opened fire. The humans walked through the fire like it was rain. They breached the outer doors. They cleared the corridors. They found Threk in the deepest room, surrounded by screens showing security feeds. He had watched them come the entire time. He had seen his defenses fall. He had witnessed the impossibility of their approach. "What are you?" he asked when Do-yeon entered the room. "We are human," Do-yeon said simply. "You cannot be." "The humans I knew were weak." They smiled and bowed and let us walk over them. Do-yeon walked closer. His team fanned out behind him, covering every angle. "We smiled because we chose to smile," Do-yeon said. "We bowed because we chose peace over war. We let you think you were superior because fighting you was not worth the cost." He stopped directly in front of Threk. "Then you hurt a child." And everything changed. Threk reached for a weapon hidden at his side. Do-yeon was faster. In a single motion, he disarmed Threk and pinned him to the ground. "You could have lived your entire life never knowing what we really are," Do-yeon said quietly. "But you made a choice. You chose to harm what we love. And now you know the truth." Threk struggled, but it was useless. "What truth?" "The truth that every species in this galaxy will soon understand. Humans are not peaceful because we are weak. We are peaceful because we know what we become when peace fails." He pulled Threk to his feet. "We become the thing that hunts monsters. We become the darkness that darkness fears. We become the end of all who would harm our children." Threk was taken into custody. The last target had been caught. Do-yeon stood on the surface of the dead world and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Yuna was recovering. Somewhere out there, a galaxy was learning to fear the protectors of children. He thought about something Lieutenant Nari had asked him before this miss. Sion began. She had asked why humans cared so much about one girl. He had not known how to answer then. Now he did it. It was never about one girl. It was about every girl, every boy, every child who deserved to grow up safe, every innocent who deserved protection. Humanity did not fight for Yuna. Humanity fought so that there would never be another Yuna, and they would fight forever if that was what it took. The trial was held on Earth. In a courtroom that had been built specifically for this purpose, it was large enough to hold representatives from every species in the galaxy. Cameras broadcast every moment to billions of worlds. Humanity wanted everyone to see. They wanted the galaxy to witness what happened when you harmed those who could not defend themselves. Hi. Arbiter Volok sat in the defendant's chair. Surrounded by the others who had participated in the attack on Yuna, they looked small, now weak. The powerful beings who had once ruled the galaxy were just frightened creatures waiting for judgment. Delegate. Minho served as the lead prosecutor. He had spent 2 months building the case, gathering evidence, preparing witnesses. He had not slept well since the day he found Yuna broken and bleeding on Helix Prime. Now he stood before the court, calm and precise. The defendants are charged with assault on a minor, conspiracy to commit murder, and crimes against sentient beings, he said. The evidence is overwhelming. The guilt is clear. The only question remaining is what justice looks like. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witnesses testified. Evidence was presented. Videos showed the moment Yuna was discovered by the guards. Audio recordings captured Volok's giving the order to harm her. There was no defense that could stand against the truth. But the moment that silenced everyone came on the final day. When Yuna herself entered the courtroom, she walked slowly. Her body was still recovering from the damage. She used a cane to support herself. Scars were visible on her arms and face, but she walked. She did not speak. She did not testify. She simply sat in the front row and looked at the beings who had hurt her. Velux could not meet her eyes. He turned away, staring at the floor. The judge, a senior human jurist named Wan Jin, called the court to order. "The defendants have been found guilty on all charges," he announced. "The sentence is as follows." The courtroom held its breath. "Death would be simple," Judge Wan Jin said. "It would end their suffering quickly. But that is not justice. Justice is remembering. Justice is ensuring that the galaxy never forgets what they did." He looked at the defendants. "Will be exiled to a barren moon in deep space. You will have food, water, and shelter. You will survive. And every day of your survival, you will know that you are alone because of your choices. A beacon will broadcast your location to the entire galaxy. Everyone will know where you are. Everyone will be able to watch you live in isolation." He paused. "You wanted to be powerful? You wanted to be feared? Now you will be forgotten. That is your punishment." The defendants were taken away. Valak screamed as the guards led him from the courtroom. He screamed that this was unjust, that he deserved better, that he was important. No one listened. 3 days later, President Sujin addressed the galaxy. Her broadcast reached every world, every station, every ship with a receiver. Trillions of beings watched as she spoke. "To all species of the galaxy," she began, "I speak to you today not as a conqueror, but as a neighbor. What happened these past months was not something we wanted. It was something we were forced to do." She stood in front of a window showing the earth below. Blue oceans and green continents, the home of humanity. We came to the stars with hope. We came seeking friends. We came believing that the galaxy was a place where different peoples could live together in peace. Her voice hardened slightly. "We were taught a painful lesson. We learned that some see kindness as weakness. We learned that some mistake mercy for submission. We learned that our children are not safe unless we make them safe." She stepped forward. "So let me be clear about what has changed. Humanity does not seek an empire. We do not want your worlds or your resources or your obedience. We want only one thing, and we will accept nothing less." She raised her head. "The safety of our children. Every human child, anywhere in this galaxy, is now protected by the full might of our species. Touch one of them, and you will face everything we are. Not armies. Not ships. Everything." She paused, letting the words sink in. "To those who treated us with respect over the years, we offer friendship and alliance. To those who stayed neutral, we offer the chance to begin fresh. But to those who would harm our innocent ones, we offer only a warning." Her eyes seemed to look directly through the screen into the soul of every viewer. "Flee. Because if we come for you, there is nowhere in this universe you can hide." Broadcast ended. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy reorganized itself. The council was formally dissolved. A new assembly formed, one where humanity had a permanent seat at the head of the table. Not because they demanded it, because every other species insisted. Trade resumed. Diplomatic channels reopened. Life began to return to normal. But everything was different now. Human children were treated with careful respect wherever they went. No one dared to even speak harshly to them. Teachers were gentle. Officials were polite. Even criminals made sure to never, ever harm a human, young one. The lesson had been learned. 6 months after the trial, Eunice stood on the observation deck of a Terran warship. She was 16 now. Her body had healed as much as it ever would. Some scars would stay forever, but her spirit had not broken. If anything, it had grown stronger. Delegate Minho stood beside her. He had become something like an uncle to her in the months since her rescue. "What will you do now?" he asked. Yuna watched the stars drift past. The ship was on a routine patrol near the edge of human space. "I want to become a diplomat," she said. "Like you." Minho raised an eyebrow. "After everything that happened, you want to work with aliens?" "Because of everything that happened," Yuna said. "Someone has to make sure this never happens again." Someone has to build bridges so that the next curious child does not get hurt for looking where they should not. She turned to look at him. The humans showed the galaxy what we do when we are hurt. I want to show them what we do when we are at peace. I want to show them that our kindness is not weakness. It is the greatest gift we can give. Minho smiled. It was the first real smile he had managed in a very long time. I think you will be very good at that, he said. Yuna turned back to the stars. Somewhere out there on a barren moon, Volux and the others were living their punishment. Somewhere out there, alien parents were teaching their children to never harm a human. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was learning a new truth about this small blue world called Earth. Humans were dangerous. Humans were powerful. Humans were terrifying when provoked. But they were also kind. They were also forgiving. They were also capable of building something better than what came before. And that, Yuna thought, was the real lesson. Not the war. Not the victory. Not the fear. The real lesson was that humanity had proven itself capable of both destruction and creation. They could burn worlds, but they chose to build them. They could rule through fear, but they chose to lead through example. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity. Now it was time for them to learn something else, to trust humanity, to follow humanity, to believe that maybe, just maybe, the future would be better than the past. Yuna looked at the stars, and the stars looked back. They no longer seemed cold and frightening. They seemed like a promise of a galaxy where children could be curious without being punished, where kindness was valued instead of mocked, where peace was protected by those strong enough to keep it. That was the galaxy Yuna would help build, and she could not wait to begin.